I wanted to do one good deed and wanted to kill myself. But now I feel I have different purpose in life. So I never in my life thought I would start an NGO. I said if you ever want to compete, don't compete in anything else, but compete in doing good. A lot of people thought I was doing a time pass career. See, there is a lot of misconception on field. I'm sure close to 90% of people in India have no idea about the law of the land. Become a history maker and make more history makers. That's it from me.
So to begin with, could you share your personal journey and what inspired you to start the Youngistaan Foundation?
My personal journey and Youngistaan are two different, but I will try and see together. So, personal journey. So I never in my life thought I would start an NGO. It was never an intention to start an NGO too. I come from a very tight family where resources were very limited. So my first job ever was working in Domino's. I used to deliver pizzas. And I think then a lot of call center boom happened, and I worked in GE Capital. I don't know how many years ago, only 5 years and 100 days ago. I think I would work in the night and go to college in the day. So that's how. And then I wanted to do film production. I wanted to produce movies. I was very fascinated about the film industry because they say if you want to make an impact, films is an amazing tool to make an impact for people, for their behavioral change or whatever you want to do, like in the community. So that's what I wanted to do. But somehow I ended up doing an interview for a newspaper, and I started working as a journalist. So I think then for close to 6 years I did a lot of hard-hitting journalism, crime reporting, film, food, business, politics, all of that. And during this time, I think I started Youngistaan. It was majorly, I was also part of a band, and we used to do concerts, and we used to be pretty active in a lot of church settings, and during that time I wanted to do something back into the community. So we used to just buy some 10 packets of food, and we would go on streets and give the cream bun or chai to people on street because that's the only thing we can afford. But I wanted to do something. And all of us every Sunday after or Saturday after our church would go and help people out. And I think what we started to do, I think during that time there were not many volunteer organizations. A lot of young people, So I think one of the concerts, I put a video asking people to go do something for people in need. And one of the persons from the audience came and he said, "No idea about the chai, but I don't have a platform." Then we said, "Okay, let's create a platform." And that's how Youngistaan happened, and we just started from buns, we started cooking food, giving to homeless people, and then we wanted to have conversations, saying, "Hey, how are you?" Because sometimes in life you need somebody to ask that question, that will make a lot of impact. So I think that when we started giving people clothes, then we realized people were being shabby, then we started doing haircuts. Then we started doing first aid, then giving new clothes, shifting them to shelter homes. That's how it started, and one of our videos went viral on social media. That brought in a lot of volunteers. In fact, our website is done by somebody sitting in Delhi. So a lot of that work started happening, and a lot of volunteers in different cities started organization. And I think that's how Youngistaan started off. In 2014, and we then started doing a lot of other programs like education, menstrual health, gender, climate, disaster relief, youth nurturing, etc.
So how did you find the funds to be able to cook and give food to so many people?
Money. save money from my pocket, I used to that time drink close to 15 to 20 cups of tea in a day. So I would say, okay, let me have only 3 cups of tea and save the rest of the money. And I always, one of the things I even now do is I don't ask people for money. I say, come spend with us your weekends and let's do the work, money will come. So I think people were very generous. A lot of my close circle, they started giving money monthly. Volunteers started pitching in-kind donations started happening. And now, of course, we do a lot of government collaborations, corporate collaborations, and never in my life I worried about money. I think money found its way. But the more resources you get, you can do more impact. But my focus was always about trying to help as many people as possible.
Makes sense. So when you started Youngistaan, what was one of the major issues that you faced personally and in terms of organization?
Personally and organization, I think both together. One is, a lot of people thought I was doing it time pass ke liye. They say, even now, people think that young people can't run an NGO, so they want, if I go to a panel discussion, for a long time I was the youngest in the room. So all uncles, aunties, they would look at me and say, hey, bacha kuch kar liya. So it's very difficult to be valued for the work that I was doing. And that is something was different. But I think one thing that worked very well with me was I always believe young people can be massive change makers. Even that time I had no money, but I knew there were so many young people who are very fueled to make an impact, but they just need a platform. And India is still known to be the youngest country in the world. So I wanted to work with young people, build their capacities, guide them to make an impact on field. So that is what we did. Challenges, there are a lot of challenges, but I never naturally focused on them because it will just make you feel very low with whatever you're trying to do.
Makes sense. But I completely agree with you. In fact, I think you had a few instances which children came up to you and asked, what does Youngistaan do? And we have also had instances. I have met a first year student who started an NGO herself, so I can see a lot of enthusiasm in the students. I think they just need the right path. They just need a good guide too.
Absolutely. I think people need mentors. Like everybody, like for me as I grew up, I very few mentors I had. So one of the greatest thing young people today need is mentorship. So if you have good mentors, you can make massive impact in lives. All big cricketers, football players, or whoever made an impact. Go back to the history, you'll find 1 or 2% who pushed them. Like even Tendulkar. He is, imagine the greatest cricketer of all time. And the one mentor who pushed him, otherwise you wouldn't have known Tendulkar at all. Tendulkar used to be playing for India. I don't know about you generation people if you know them, but you're in the Dhoni and Virat Kohli generation.
Okay, moving on. For listeners unfamiliar with NGO operations, how would you explain the structure and functioning of an NGO in India?
See, if anybody wants to start an NGO, there are 3 types. One will either register it as a trust, or a society, or a Section 8 company. And just get in touch with your lawyer and majorly your chartered accountant who will help you set up any one of these registrations that you do. But I would encourage people, somebody like never told me before, I would encourage a lot of young people to do 2 things. One is either register it as a Section 8 company so that you can also draw some salary for the amount of work that you put in, or start a social enterprise where you can do impact to the community and also make your money.
So what is the essential difference between an NGO and a welfare society, like you said?
Both are same. Non-governmental organization. There are different terminologies, everything is same. Not-for-profit organization, non-governmental organization, it's the same. It's
Because,
just different terminologies.
yes, because NGOs are usually concerned with non-profit organizations, whereas welfare societies are more also involved in that.
So, for example, in trust and in trust, like the trustees can't draw salary. So, society, you can draw some salary apart from some board decisions. So in Section 8, you can also, Section 8 is like literally like a company plus NGO together. So you can properly draw a salary, how much ever you want. I run Youngistaan voluntary. So because Youngistaan is registered on a trust. So I do other things for my bread and butter or biryani because I'm so, but yeah.
Okay, sir.
Let's go a little more read up on it now. Everybody can get half of the answers on ChatGPT. But also go meet your lawyer, go meet a chartered accountant.
Okay, moving on. How do you ensure accountability and transparency in NGO work, especially when dealing with donors and beneficiaries?
Yeah, one of the things that we are known for is our transparency. We are very transparent when it comes to our work. Every volunteer in the organization will know what is happening. Anybody can walk up to us to know our accounts, and we tell most of our account details are even put up on our website, where the money is used, how much it's used. It's very transparent, and we are very answerable to even 1 rupee that comes to the organization. So we have a lot of structured systems in the organization that makes it very transparent. And we have an open door policy. We in organization, our hierarchy systems are also very flat based. So we ask everybody to be treated equally. So yeah.
So I think it's very important because in big organizations, transparency is the huge issue. So I think it's a really great initiative that you mentioned.
We try our best to do. It's just that sometimes what happens is NGOs, because of past organizations who did wrong things, because of which actual hardworking NGOs like us struggle a lot. So
there was much less credibility to work with.
So, but they say no, eat the chicken, leave the bones. Do as much as possible and then leave the rest.
Makes sense, sir. Okay, moving on. What role do you think young people, especially law students, can play in driving social change?
I think there is so much law students can do if they have right intention. So if you look at the biggest influencers in the world, if you Google and check who are the most popular, most influential, most person who made an impact, who do you think would it be?
Influencer. Sir, I don't know her name, but there is this one lady from the Middle East who makes food in big barrels and she goes out to distribute them to children.
So all the richest people also, everybody began not with an intention of I want to make money. Everybody wanted to solve a problem. So solve a problem, help people, etc. So one of the things I would encourage a lot of law students when they're doing something is work towards making an impact through the skills that they gained and how they can help NGOs, common man and all of that. I love the movie Jai. How it was a movie. There's that movie on Surya on how this guy fights for a very poor lady who can't afford, and it's an amazing story. You should go watch that movie. I should have spoken this more, but it speaks on how there is a lot of misconception on field on law and advocates and how there's this perception saying they take people for granted, they don't charge people properly and all. There's a lot of misconception, and there's a lot of help that is needed that people don't know. So how if somebody joins or wants to do something for an NGO, they can always help in looking after their legal cases, help them draft things that can help the organization, a lot of documentation, MOUs, contracts. That's something an organization would want. Second is, PILs. If anybody, a lot of NGOs or common man would want to support those people with that, and also do some pro bono work for people who can't afford. That is something lawyers, after you finish your course, you can do that. But as a law student, also you can do guidance. A lot of people need support, senior citizens, young people, elders. There is I'm sure close to 90% of people in India have no idea about the law of the land. They do not know what rights they have, how to practice it, etc. So you guys play a big role to ensuring that they are aware of the law of the land that they live in.
Makes sense. So when you speak about pro bono work, I'm sure you're aware of district legal aid services or national legal aid services. So
yeah, but in a country like India, how much it's like government hospital. You know, so many people go into government hospital, and how many? If you need help, would you go there?
No, sir.
Why? Because there's already so much of rush, and I will not say doctors are not doing good work. They are doing whatever they can with the resources, but government should invest a lot more in government hospitals to make it really good. In the same way, less people to help when there are more people who need help. So that's why do some pro bono, make money, everybody happy.
Makes sense, sir. So do you suggest that if NGOs begin their own pro bono work, do you think with the amount of resources that NGOs have, it would turn out to be a better platform for pro bono work than what the government already provides?
NGOs do pro bono work only. So NGOs never charge people money.
In the sense of legal pro bono work?
Like even if NGO is doing legal, it will be pro bono only. They will not charge people for money. Like if you start an organization tomorrow, doesn't have to be an NGO. If you start your own associates, then for every 10 cases, do pro bono or something like that. But NGO does a lot of pro bono. Like NGO doesn't take any money from people to do work. They raise money. They raise donations. They raise fundings. And they help people with the money that they have. And one of the less resourced industry is the non-for-profit sector.
Makes sense.
That's why we ask people saying, hey, come and volunteer with us, man. They're doing Sunday 3 hours, can you help me? All of that, if you keep doing.
Yes, that makes sense. So, could you share a story or project from Youngistaan that had a deep emotional or social impact?
I think everything Youngistaan has done in the last few years has done massive impact, like feeding homeless people, saving children in railway stations, reconnecting elderly for their homes. We've met a lot of missing people, preventing early marriage. In fact, I think 1 or 2 days before he went and stopped the early marriage. Then working in juvenile homes, helping people with vocational training. One of the kids who we were trained, even got placed in a job at a very nice cafe. So these are like a lot of impact stories from the menstrual health sessions. It's heartbreaking when you go on ground and you see people going through a lot of issues. And there is nobody to help. And then we look at the country and we say we are very rich, we are, this, trillion GDP, etc., etc. But then there are still poor people dying out of no food, basic thing, roti, kapda, makan. So I think that's something everybody deserves.
So moving on, what are your dreams for Youngistaan in the next 5 years?
I have no idea. All depends on how much resources I have, but I always dreamt of having Youngistaan across the country. We've done a little bit of work in 60 cities now, which is, I'm happy doing that. But I want to have active Youngistaan across the country where a lot of young people are fueled not to fight with each other, compete with each other over money or anything, religion or class, caste or anything. But there is one thing, something I read. They said if you ever want to compete, don't compete in anything else, but compete in doing good. So I want to compete with you saying, hey, I want to do good to you, and you compete with me saying, no, I want to do good to you. It's like how we pay the bill after a few people do that, and in Indian culture we do that, main pe karta and all that. That we should just help each other. I think that would be my dream, starting Youngistaan across the countries, across India, and a lot of young people rolling up and running programs, helping each other, making a difference with each other. That's what matters at the end of the day.
Makes sense. So, as you know, a lot of young kids are volunteering with NGOs these days. So, what are some skills that you think young volunteers can gain from working with NGOs?
This is something I tell. Any young person who volunteers for an NGO gets any skill that they more skills that they can gain by doing schooling, inter, degree, or anything beyond that. The amount of things that life skills that you learn by volunteering in a right NGO, it's massive. People will learn communication skills. I have volunteers who came and said I was never a speaking person. I was very shy, but I've changed upside down after volunteering. Relationship building, it will make people more humble. Make people more grateful for opportunities that they have. In fact, it's massive good for mental health. Now that we're speaking a lot on mental health, if you want to deal with mental health, I would say volunteer. I'll give you an example. There was one volunteer who came and volunteered with us for one of the programs where we give food and give haircuts, transforming, giving first aid and all of that. And he went back home and called me, saying, Arun, thank you for giving the opportunity to volunteer. And then I said, no, it's okay, you can come back again. And he said, no, you don't understand. I came to volunteer that day because I was weak, I was tired. My intention was to come to something good, go back home and end my life. I was very upset in life, nothing was going good, but I wanted to do one good deed and wanted to kill myself. But now I feel I have different purpose in life. So now that person is still volunteering with us for past 6 years. So that kind of skills you learn when you volunteer at an NGO and volunteer with the right intentions, not for certificates or anything, to make an impact, saying I want to learn, I want to make an impact, and you will remember it rest of your life.
Makes sense, sir. So on the contrary, personal experience, when I first interned with an NGO out of law school, and I actually went out and I spoke to people, I had a very Siddhartha moment. I was just like, I want to leave everything. This is too much pain for me to watch.
Yeah.
So how do you think, youngsters who are on the field for the first time can deal with feelings like these?
Not even youngsters. I think every person who works, every doctors, cops, or NGO people, and they go and help people. They see a lot of negatives and effects mentally. Like I have people who went back home crying, volunteers, people who work with me, they cry, very depressed. They can't see so much of the sad, but so many issues that are happening. So we do a lot of internal well-being sessions for our volunteers, saying, I know it's tough, but we also want to help them, to support them, help them with comforting. But one thing we also want people who volunteer to also understand, or who work with NGOs also to understand, you have to have that thick skin, where you help but don't carry back what you are taking. It's very difficult, but you have to generate that emotion balance to figure out how. Otherwise, you break down and you can't go on. It's like a doctor who sees blood and falls off. But you'll not be able to help that person back. It's a tough scenario, but you have to build your capacities to be mentally strong and all of that.
Yes, I think if we want to make a change in the society, we need to have, like you said, thick skin we have to pull through.
It's very difficult. Like, for example, there is new terminologies people use, like don't say heroes to actors. Heroes are different. Heroes are people who are making a change in other people's life. But we as, only it happens in India, nowhere else, where we idol worship celebrities, but we forget real heroes who are making a change. So I think people should realize to, make that change happening and appreciate people who are actually doing good work, support them. It'll somewhere make people happy for the work that they're doing.
Yes. Okay, moving on, the last question. If you could change one policy to make NGO work easier or more impactful, what would it be?
But I don't know. I think one of the things I would big time encourage governments in India to do is work with NGOs. Collaborate with NGOs, because NGOs are on grassroots. They feel, understand, touch, that heart connect is there, because they do this out of passion, not out of getting some money or anything. They really go on ground, they understand people. But I think governments sometimes don't do that. They don't collaborate, they don't build capacities, they don't give money to NGOs and help them. It happens in Western countries, where people have built capacities, they're helped more. Few governments do, Telangana government does sometimes here and there. I think more globally or nationally, I think one thing that governments should do is work with NGOs, build up capacity, support them, mentor them, have that big brother attitude, saying, hey, you don't worry, we are there for you, do what you want to do. And work with them, partner with organizations. I think that's one thing. Not policy, but an impact that, then everything will fall into place, all policies.
I completely agree, sir. One of the instances that I have incurred is when all of us friends, we were trying to get our NGO registered solely for funds purpose, because we were all students from 10th, 11th, 12th grade, and we had no idea what we were doing. But the entire process of registering for funds, it was, so we were being made to run around government offices, and it was a very tiring process. And in the end, we just all gave up. We just like, ये तो नहीं हो पाएगा हमसे. So what would you? Yes, exactly. So do you think there could be any policy that would change this in the landscape of NGOs?
There are a lot of policies, there are a lot of policies that need to get better for people. And I think government, NGOs do keep raising those things here and there whenever possible. But I think making life easier, overall it's a good policy that government can carry to help people who want to make an impact on ground.
Yes, sir. Okay. Is there anything else that you would like to tell the students, tell the young generation for today?
What do I tell them? Nowadays, young generation only wants people to know through Instagram and all of that. But if I have to tell one thing, is they say there are 3 types of people. One is people who make things happen. One is people who watch things happen. Third is people who wonder what happened. Okay? So I want to encourage people to be the first thing, Whatever little you do, make things happen, make a history. You have one life. When you're young, there is so much of energy. There is so much that you can do. I know everybody wants to have fun, but make wise decisions. That is something I would want people to learn. And maybe your life, there's so much to do in life. Travel the world and bring in the best practices and impact lives of people for good. Whenever anybody you work with, like with children or anybody, I say, you end up becoming their heroes. They will remember you for the rest of their lives. They will not remember anybody else. So go on ground, help people out. You will become their heroes. They will, in real life, they will appreciate you guys. And if you go back in your life, you will start thinking of people who stood up for you, who helped you when you were little and all. They might not be there now, but you would admire them the best. So do that. Make a history maker, become a history maker, and make more history makers. That's it from me. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. This was a very thoughtful and very interactive session, and I'm sure even the students had a lot to gain from your
Yes.
experiences.
Thank you very much for having me.